Finding the best study technique that works for you can be a challenging task, but the one that ultimately leads to the amazing grades. Choosing the right study practices allowed me to get all 9s in my GCSEs, and even to this day, when I'm already at med school, I'm still using the exact same techniques I used before, just because how good and effective they are. In today's video, we will have a look at the study techniques that were scientifically proven to be the best ones and the ones that I use myself for the past many years. All you need to do is smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and let's begin. So I will break down this video into 4 main parts. Firstly, we will identify the key issue associated with good study habits. Next, we'll talk about the most common bad habits that you may have when studying. Thirdly, we will talk about the best study techniques, which are active recall combined with spaced learning, or spaced practice as it also can be known. And fourthly, I'll talk about my own ways of revision, the ones that I used to get 9s in GCSEs, A stars in maths, for A levels, even using currently. So unless you've been lucky to be born with an extraordinary memory, the key issue that many students face is the decaying knowledge. Right now, for example, if you were to read an article and an hour later, I would ask you to recite at least 60% of what you've read, would you be able to do it? Highly unlikely. In fact, research shows that humans tend to forget 50% of the information they learned within an hour. So if memory problems is our main enemy, surely if we manage to find some kind of solution for it, or we would be able to tackle that problem and overcome it, and therefore make our learning more efficient and retain all the information we learn. We'll talk about how to do it in a second, but for now, let's go through a couple of common bad habits that students tend to have. So first bad habit or bad practice is having a distraction right next to you, such as your phone. How many times have you found yourself starting to revise and then just going on your phone just to scroll through TikTok? I bet it's a lot of times, and I bet this happens quite often. Yeah, you may feel bad about it, but you still continue doing it. You still keep scrolling, thinking, okay, this will be the last video, but that last video turns into a couple more videos, and a couple of hours later, you like, oh, I've done nothing. So this closely ties to our next bad practice, is the lack of concentration. So think about it. If you constantly have your phone near you and you constantly go on your phone to scroll through TikTok, you have zero concentration when learning it. When revising, you need to give your full attention to the revision material to get the best results possible. By having your phone next to you, you're unfortunately compromising your attention and therefore compromising your concentration. So, removing the phone will not only help you get rid of the bad habit of scrolling through TikTok, for example, but it will ultimately lead you to better grades. Next, it's the poor time management and prioritization. In GCSEs, you have many subjects, and you need to figure out the right balance between each of them in order to achieve all 9s throughout your GCSEs. To do that, you require great management skills. So firstly, if you like science but hate maths and English, for example, and you get good grades in science but bad grades in maths, prioritizing science would be a bit rather illogical. So you need to figure out the subjects you're bad at, and usually those are the subjects you hate the most and you find the most boring, and prioritize them, because at the end of the day, if you're getting good grades in one subject, there's no point prioritizing that subject because you're already good at it. You need to boost the grades for the subject that you're bad at in order to essentially just boost all your grades throughout the GCSEs. You want to get as many 9s, you got to put in the effort into the subject that you're bad at currently, and so therefore you got to prioritize it and spend a bit more time on those subjects. The next thing we're going to talk about is the motivation. Now, the lack of motivation is the common complaint among students, and many question how to find motivation. What they are forgetting is that motivation is just an emotion. What you need is discipline. Think about it. How many times you were motivated, but then you did some work, and the next morning you're burnt out completely and you don't want to do any more work? That's motivation, simply an emotion. What you need is to put in some kind of system that will allow you to become disciplined, so that you spend consistently the same amount of work and the same amount of hours on revision. You could perhaps split your days into blocks with set time limits, or maybe plan out each day by the hour. By planning it out, you become more disciplined. By becoming more disciplined, you're more likely to be consistent with your revision, leading to better grade. And lastly, what we're going to talk about is typing your notes instead of handwriting it. Now, various research suggests that handwriting gives you a better chance of retaining the knowledge on more of a long-term basis rather than typing. Simply because handwriting takes a more of an active form of learning. In fact, research shows that when you're doing handwriting notes, the different parts of your brains are activated that are not active during typing. So remove the keyboard, take out the pen, and start handwriting your notes. So which technique is the best for learning? Well, simple answer, the ones that refresh your memory and help you retain the knowledge long term. First, let's talk about spaced repetition. This can be a major contributor to your ability to retain knowledge long term and go into the exams without the fear of forgetting something. Ideally, you want to combine spaced repetition with active recall for the best effect. So let's pick apart each by taking biology as an example. With spaced repetition, what you want to do is after you learn the topic, did a couple of practice questions from past papers, or just you found some topic questions online, you want to take a note of the things you got wrong and 2 days later, do it again. In addition to the questions you got wrong previously, you can also do some extra questions you can find online. If you run out of topic questions with your exam board, there are many exam boards, and at the end of the day, biology is biology everywhere, and the content is pretty much the same throughout each exam board. So doing a couple of questions from a different exam board isn't going to hurt you. In fact, it will do quite the opposite. So repeat the questions that you got wrong previously, plus some additional questions for the topic every 2 days. So let's say, for example, after learning the topic, 2 days later, repeat it, then 4 days later, repeat it, and 6 days later, repeat it. And afterwards, what I would recommend is doing a past paper, because past papers not only combine the knowledge of that one particular topic, but they include the knowledge of other topics and they combine it together sometimes in one question. For maths, for example, you may get a question where you need to use simultaneous equations, plus solving algebra, plus inequalities, whatever it may be, in one single question, which makes your brain not only think about that one particular topic, but it forces you to combine the knowledge across all the different topics to find the final correct answer. So that's the power of the past papers. We'll come back to it in a second. But next, we want to talk about active recall. Now, active recall is a study practice that essentially forces your brain to retrieve information that you learned previously and put it on paper. If done successfully, it majorly contributes to your long-term memory and helps you retain the information for far longer periods of time. To give you a perspective on how to effectively use active recall in combination with spaced learning, let's talk about my own revision schedule and my own ways of studying. So if I decided to devote a particular day to productive studying, the first and perhaps most important things I would do after I wake up, and by the way, waking up preferably early. I personally wake up usually around 6 a.m. if I want to do some productive revision. But the most important thing is that instead of going on your phone and start scrolling through TikTok, do something productive, such as read a book, read a newspaper, article, wherever it may be, just something that doesn't get you into this path of procrastination. Starting your day productively just gets you into the right mindset and prepares you for what's about to come. It will essentially make it easier for you to later sit down, take out your past papers and start doing questions or learning new information. How many times you've woken up, took out your phone, went on TikTok and spent the rest of the day unproductively because you kept on thinking that this will be the last video and it never ended. Second thing I do is splitting my revision time into chunks, preferably 2 hours with breaks in between. This helps me stay organized throughout my revision, but also makes me more disciplined. If you plan out your day and you split your revision into chunks of 2 hours, for example, like I do, you're less likely to fall into the pit of procrastination and you're less likely to stop learning. Discipline building is a major skill that you need to attain in order to get high grades. It's also super important if you're looking to go into university later in life. To be honest, discipline is a skill that is necessary everywhere. Studying, work life, sports, etc. Discipline is everywhere. If you're a disciplined person, it will help you in life drastically. So I would split my revision into 2-hour chunks with 10 or 15 minute breaks in between. For example, from 8 to 10, I would revise something like biology. I would do a past paper on biology. Then I would have a 10 or 15 minute break. By the way, about the breaks, if you were to go on TikTok or YouTube, would you be able to stop watching it after 10 or 15 minutes exactly? Or would you be like, okay, I'll just finish this video and then I'll be done with the break? If you're the type of person who finds it really hard to stop watching YouTube or TikTok, then you should avoid, at least at the starting point of this productive revision, you should avoid going on TikTok and YouTube as a result. But if you're confident in your ability to stop at the exact moment as the 15-minute hits, then be my guest, you can watch YouTube during the break. But I would still recommend doing something more productive, such as reading a book. But do make sure it's an interesting book and the one that will actually keep you engaged. You still want to have a break at the end of the day, and if the break turns out to be a hard work, then it wasn't much point in the break. After the biology paper, I would do a maths paper or a practice essay writing for English. For lunch and dinner, I would usually devote around an hour. So in total, during the day, you should have 3 big breaks, essentially for breakfast, lunch and dinner of around 1 hour, and little breaks in between of your 2-hour chunks of revision and studying. Now, the most important thing is to avoid burning out and stay consistent with your revision. You don't have to study productively every single day and all the day throughout. All you need is maybe 2 or 3 hours a day on every other day and an occasional push through the whole entire day of revision if you really want to do well in the exams, and I'm sure you do. Look, getting good grades is a challenge and it will require a tremendous amount of effort, but if you're really going for the top grades, such as all 9s throughout your GCSEs, you gotta put in the effort as early as possible. Doing things right now will help you make it easier for you to be prepared for the final GCSEs. And trust me, all that effort will pay off when you see the final grades in your results slip. I was once myself a student with a U in science, and my highest grade was a 4 for maths. And now I'm a medical student with a full stack of 9s for GCSEs. Life is good. All that was thanks to me being able to put in the effort. By implementing this exact system of revision, I was able to achieve my dream grades. And I managed to get into my dream course, which is medicine. So it's definitely possible to achieve your dreams by becoming more disciplined and adopting essentially a system that will help you to reach your goals. I hope you found this video useful. I wish you best of luck with your revision and your exams. And if you did find the video useful, please make sure to smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the later videos. Bye bye everyone.